All right, Daniel. I heard you're the underwriting wizard for rental properties. Is that true?
Underrating for everything, man. Let's do it.
Okay. So yeah, I plan on buying this one property in Milwaukee, and
Yep.
I plan on using a DSCR loan to
Beautiful.
acquire it.
Yep.
Um, so I mean, what do we all need to get started underwriting to make sure this is a good deal I'm getting into?
Yep, definitely. So firstly, what is the purchase price of the property?
I got it in contract right now for about a hundred thousand.
Okay, so let's say 100,000. If you're getting a DSCR loan, most typical loans, unless you're doing FHA, is going to be about 20% down. So we're going to multiply that purchase price by 20%. And now we're at a 20K down payment, and now your loan amount is 80 grand. And
Okay.
Calvin, any idea on your interest rate?
Interest rate, I was getting quoted about 8%.
Yep, yeah, it's pretty aligned with current market conditions, about 8%. Um, any idea on what you can for this for taxes and insurance, you can either go on Zillow and you'll be able to see what the annualized taxes are and get a rough estimate of insurance. You can either go on Zillow and do that, or you can just straight up Google it and see what it looks like in Milwaukee County. So for this one specifically, what is your estimated monthly taxes?
It's gonna be about $80 a month,
$80, and then insurance.
about $90 a month.
Yep. And then you see it automatically calculates. Here's your monthly payment, 757. And what that payment breakdown looks like is principal, 53, interest, 533, taxes, 80, insurance, 90. And then Calvin, are you
Okay.
familiar with what asset class means?
I'm a little bit, but I mean, if you could catch me up to speed on what
Of
they all
course.
mean again, that'd be great.
Yep. So think of asset class as in the market grade, as if you were grading all the markets. When you think of your top tier best markets, you're gonna think of Los Angeles, New York, maybe even maybe some Florida markets. And that's what a class A is, super high-end properties. When you go down to B, it's a little step down. You would call it more middle class. It's not your luxury, but I would say middle class. And then C and D, they kind of go hand in hand. I would look to like more so called D class, like your war zone, super hood properties. C, more blue collar, probably a little lower than blue collar. Nothing too crazy. It's not like a war zone, but it's not the best house. And then so for yours in Milwaukee, what would you say your asset class is? Maybe about what do you
I would say
think?
about a C class.
Yeah, I think at that purchase price, out of anything under 100 grand is most likely going to be in the C and D range. It's you
Yep.
got to think the nicer the area, the more expensive the property is going to be. So I think C is fair for a 100 grand
Mhm.
purchase price. And what about electric and water? So typical utilities that you have, is it going to be you paying it as a landlord or is it going to be tenant paying it?
I plan on having the tenants cover both.
Okay, perfect. So we'll say zero. And do you plan on hiring a property manager or are you self-managing it?
No, yeah, I'll be hiring a property manager.
Yeah, it's never fun dealing with those properties. Yep, so automatically based on the asset class, it computes the percent. So just so you understand this, CapEx is like your long-term items. Let's say you have to get a new roof in 10 years. You're going to want to start planning out all the payments towards that roof because let's say that roof gets messed up and you got to get a whole new one. That's 10 grand right there out of your pocket. So it's best to expense that as you get to that deadline. And then repairs and maintenance, typical wear and tear, toilet fix, all that stuff. And then
Yep.
vacancy, pretty much. This says at 5%, it's like every other year you're gonna need to get new tenants. And then management, it's typically about 8%. And then Calvin, do you know what this thing is gonna rent for? And do you know how to find
Um,
rent?
I mean, I plan on doing a Section 8 on this one, um, and just kind of looking around on HUD. I think I
Yep.
can get about $1,200 a month for it.
Yep. Calvin, should I give some bonus content on how to go find that, or should we hold it off for later?
Uh, we we can get some bonus content.
Great. So pretty easy. You're gonna go to your tab, search up HUD FMR. We're gonna say 2024 because we're already almost at the end of the year. Click on the first tab. You're gonna go right here, click here for the FY 2024. Boom. This one, Calvin, yours is in Wisconsin.
Yep.
We're gonna go to Milwaukee County because it's in Milwaukee. And then boom. Here pretty much is what each Section 8 rental is going to go for. One bedroom, 979, two bedrooms, 1170, and so on. Usually you're not going to get that exact one. You want to estimate 90% of that value. So Calvin, for your property, do you know how many bedrooms it is?
It's a 3 bedroom.
3 bedrooms. So we'll say 1460. Okay, and we're gonna multiply that by 90% because we want to be safe in underwriting this. So we're at 1314. Now we're gonna go to our month by month analysis of the property. So as we see in line one, here's your rent. Then
Okay.
we're going to the expenses. You have your utilities, vacancy, property management, CapEx, repairs. Down here is your total expenses. So pretty much the total of all these. And then debt service, which is your mortgage payment. And then at the bottom, you're going to see here's how much you're going to cash flow every single month.
Okay, great.
Any questions on this, Calvin? Or is it pretty
I
straightforward?
mean, everything looks pretty straightforward. Is this how most buyers, if let's say I ever wanted a wholesale, is this how I should take into account how a buyer is going to underwrite this deal?
Yep, exactly. If a buyer is going to buy this as a rental property, this is how they're going to consider a deal. If the
Okay.
cash flow is negative, they're not going to want it. So that's why you always want to check out this yourself just to see, hey, is this going to make sense as a rental? And
Okay.
now that we have our month by month breakdown, as you see up top, it's month by month. However, we want this as a long-term rental. We're going to hold on to it for maybe a year, 5 years. So it's important to look at that return over that period of time. So now we'll see, here's our 1 year analysis. Cash flow is 4,789. So your cash on cash return is about 24%. And then it's a class C property. So usually you don't get too much appreciation on these. So for this one in Milwaukee, we're just gonna play it safe and keep it at zero. Equity
Okay.
pay down, which is just the amount of equity you're paying down in your loan, also known as equity buildup if you're more technical. And then now we're going to calculate a total return, which is just the equity pay down as well as the cash flow. So return on equity, 27%. And then now looking at the 5 year analysis, another thing to assume is that, hey, rents are going to grow by 3% every year. So that's why every year you're going to make more and more cash flow. And you can see your 5 year analysis here.
That's great.
And
Okay.
yep. Uh,
So,
anything else, Calvin? Any questions?
I mean, what would you consider this a pretty good deal for what I'm walking into right now?
So usually you want to always get above, I would say 10 to 12%. Most investors, they compare returns to the S&P 500, which on average returns about 7%. So you need to consider their opportunity costs. They can go
Is
invest in
that
that.
cash on? Is that cash on cash return?
Sorry.
A cash on cash return?
Yes, so in the S&P you get
Okay.
7% return on your money. So you need to think they have the option to go do that and it's safer or invest with me. So I need to give them 7% plus a premium because they're betting on me. There's a risk. So usually
Ah,
they'll
okay.
try and get 12% up. But it's different for every investor. For me personally, I'll always buy properties at usually 30% cash on cash up.
Okay. So what I'm walking into right now, I'm gonna be getting a 24% return on my money the first year.
Yes.
Okay. To me, that sounds like a pretty good deal, Daniel. So I
Amazing.
think I think I'm about to go forward with it
Love
and go forward with this deal. So I appreciate you. I appreciate the underwriting lesson.
it. Let's do
And just
this.
like just like the last calculator, I can find this one in the link below.
Exactly. Same
Sweet.
exact ones.
Sweet.
Perfect.
And then I'll see you in the next underwriting session, Daniel.
Let's do it, Calvin.